You're not allowed to get mad at me because you know I'm having a crazy week. Okay? I was not expecting what has come about within the last few days. Thank you guys for being so patient. I know this is literally a week late, so I'm really sorry. We're going to talk about May, and forgive me if I yawn, or forgive me if I'm just like really struggling to find my words, because I did not sleep well last night. I have not been sleeping well since all of this has happened. While I'm very grateful for it, it's very nerve-wracking for me. And it makes me very anxious having this many people's eyes on me, and this, I look insane, and this many readings to do, because I don't know, I'm just getting used to it. This isn't the first time this has happened. If you follow me or you've been on here for a while, you know that like this happens. But, and again, I'm very grateful for it. Please don't interpret this as me complaining. It's that I get overwhelmed sometimes with exposure things, and I think maybe this time it was a little bit more overwhelming because I didn't plan it. I didn't incite it. I woke up and was like, oh, I'm going vi. But we're all good in the hood. We're starting to like settle and relax. Let's jump into the month of May. First of all, hello to all of my newcomers. I do joke that these are my SpongeBob jellyfish catching glasses. They are crazy, but I need to wear the blue light glasses when I look at my laptop. I'm sorry. For some reason, when I look at my screen, I feel like it makes me very tired if I don't have them on. So on the very first of the month, Venus squared Pluto. So Venus is love, money, beauty, pleasure, romance, relationships, ease, things going easy, smooth, easy breezy, enjoyable. When we have a square to Pluto, squares are conflicting. They cause a little bit of friction. Friction doesn't always have to be bad. Sometimes friction is necessary in order to give us the zhuzh to do something. I always say it's frustration or annoyances that are there to invite you or incentivize you or encourage you to freaking do something about it, rather than sitting in that frustration and then being like, why is life so annoying and hard? It's like, hello, you could fix it. You need to like work with the circumstances here. So with Pluto being life, death, rebirth, transformation, needing to let go, profound change, profound truth, typically Venus-Pluto aspects, especially in a square, are going to be the intensity, the need to make an intense decision, change, action, or ending with something that feels good or pleasurable, particularly related to romance or finances. I think this month in general, again, excuse me, sorry for the yawning, there's probably going to be stuff towards the end of the month about crypto and about maybe the stock market, maybe financial institutions, banking, the dollar index, like anything like that. I think that in general, this is a bigger month for crypto. We have Jupiter moving into Gemini at the end of the month. That is certainly something I'm keeping my eye on for anything electronic, innovative, AI, etc. So there might have been something at the beginning of the month in terms of like collective financial astrology that could be changing in a big way financially with investments. In our personal lives, this is again typically where we need to like face the truth of something that feels good, cut off something that we want, even if it's not, or something that we want because it's something that, maybe isn't entirely good for us anymore, etc. On the second, it can just bring intensity. On the second, Pluto retrogrades in Aquarius at 2 degrees. So this is a longer running story. We know that Pluto first dipped its toes in the water, right? Of testing out what Pluto Aquarius is going to look like last year. Late March, I believe March 26th of 2023, Pluto first entered Aquarius for the first and last time in our lifetimes. It takes 250 years to transit. So the last time it was here was during the Revolutionary War, during the Civil War, during a time of a lot of profound change, particularly with overthrowing things, which is why we're seeing a lot of similar themes in our more modern day and age of people throwing their arms up and being like, I can't do it anymore. Like, I'm literally losing my mind with the way that the country, that the world is set up, particularly in terms of like patriarchy, capitalism, like housing crisis, access to real food, things like that. There's a lot to say about Pluto and Aquarius. It's also technological innovation, it has a lot to do with power to the people. There's incredible things that come with it as well. It's not a bad transit, but the hovering of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and constantly going back in and out of Aquarius over and over again is gonna inevitably shake the boat a little bit. And that's why we'll see both like advanced sort of innovations or discoveries, futuristic things that are really good and really helpful. But then we'll also see the downfall of how things like surveillance and technology and AI can be quite dangerous for us. In your personal lives, in terms of what this journey means for you, I feel like these glasses are making me want to sneeze. I don't know why. March of last year is a good time to look back on. March to June of last year, Pluto was hanging out in 0 to 1 degrees of Aquarius. And then it retrograde. It went retrograde, meaning it went back into Capricorn for a little bit. Because the story here is that as we're inching into Aquarius, we keep dropping stuff on the way. It's like we need to keep retracing our steps and going back to the Capricorn area of our chart because we need to learn something else. There is still a little bit that we need to experience. We thought we were ready, but we're not, etc. So this is going to be different depending on your rising sign. But looking at just those dates and reflecting on like maybe things beginning and ending, or you think they end and then they start again, can be common with this timeline. So it entered Aquarius again once it went direct in January of 2024, and it's been direct this whole time. So we had a little bit more time with it. With Pluto and Aquarius, it made its way to 2 degrees. So we're starting to get more comfortable with like, oh, this is the change it's bringing to my life. This is what Pluto and Aquarius looks like. And it's going to retrograde back into Capricorn until the second half of the year, basically until 2025. And we'll deal with the same old thing next year, going in and then out. And then I believe it's not until 2026 where it stays in Aquarius for good for the next 20 years of our lives, and it will never be in Capricorn again in our lifetime, which is quite profound. It has entered Capricorn since 2008, so a pretty long-standing structure that we're used to. That's why I think people have generally felt like the world has been ending slowly and over again, obviously post-COVID, but that's really what it was. Like COVID was reflected in this transit. That was the beginning of it. On the 7th, the Mercury conjoined Chiron in the sky. So this can be really good for healing conversations, reconciliation, having emotional revelations or epiphanies or breakthroughs. It's quite vulnerable, it's quite sensitive, but that doesn't have to mean that it's inherently bad. Mercury is communication, speaking, talking, writing, using your voice, ideas, thoughts, what's going on in your mind. So to have that being intensified by an asteroid that touches on unhealed wounds and resolving unresolved emotions and things like that, it gives you that opportunity. Guys, I'm literally trying not to fall asleep right now. When I say I slept 2 hours and like I woke out of my sleep at 3 something with racing thoughts about, oh my god, I have so many people are waiting on a reading for me, so many people are messaging me, so many people are like, it literally makes me feel, it's a good thing, but it makes me feel naked, and it makes me feel like I'm on a stage with a spotlight on me and everyone's just staring at me, and I know that that's not what's happening. I don't know why it's putting me more on edge than it typically does, but I'm paying for it right now in terms of sleep. Granted, because I woke up at 3, I couldn't fall back asleep, so I went to the gym at 5, and that's probably why I'm tired. I have not slept yet. I just went to the gym and have been working since. On the 9th, baby, we have it should say the 8th, which is today, but depending on where you are, it could have started last night, was the new moon in Taurus at 18 degrees. So new moons are new beginnings, or new chapters. It's planting the seed. It's the conception of a story or a new beginning. It opens the door to something that will unravel over the next 2 weeks as well as the next 6 months. It'll fully culminate over those 6 months. So as we make our way into late fall, winter, December, of 2024, we'll be able to look back on what we're going through now and be like, oh, that's when it all started. That's when I planted the seed for that. This is a great new moon. It's arguably the best one of the year. I think it is the best one of the year because it's in Taurus. Taurus is about stability. It's about emotional stability, security, foundations. It's wealth, it's beauty, it's opulence, it's things of value, it's things that feel good and pleasurable, it's indulgence. Taurus is everything from like a little cow grazing in the grass and enjoying basking in the sun, like the beauty of nature, as well as the beauty of like the most expensive articulate painting in the world. It just has a strong sense of value to it. It also talks about food and housing and basic needs, access to basic needs and resources. The reason that this is such a good new moon is it's not afflicted at all. There's no negative aspects to it. The most negative, hypothetical outcome can be from the fact that it is conjunct Uranus in the sky. So Uranus, we know, is instability. It shakes the table. It's unexpected or unusual circumstances or changes, things kind of coming out of left field, but it's also rebellion, it's liberation, it's freeing yourself of something. It is endings, it is usually this idea of getting clarity through chaos or having a breakthrough via a breakdown first. It can be a little bit chaotic in that way. But Uranus, again, with its like sort of rebellious, innovative, 10 steps ahead, futuristic, I'm ready to break apart in an authentic way, sort of expression to it. Think of somebody who like lets their freak flag fly. Like they finally are like, you know what? Screw it, I'm not going to pretend to be someone I'm not. Like, I don't care if I'm weird, I don't care if I'm the outcast, I don't care if people judge me. That is very much Uranus. So to have a new moon in a conjunction to that, if we're looking at it through a more optimistic lens, could be like we're really stepping into something that's not new to us but true to us, basically. And with that new moon being in Taurus, it's really planting the roots in a strong way. It's not this frivolous sort of, oh, I just want something, or oh, I'm just gonna cross my fingers and hope I get this thing I'm manifesting. It's about like actually sitting down, figuring out the practical steps, committing to it, following through, and then actually getting what you want. Surprise, like when you actually do what you have to do to get what you want and you get it, it's celebratory because you're like, oh, maybe that was easier than the way that I typically overcomplicate things. It's very to the point. It's also in a sextile, I think, to Saturn, so there's some discipline, commitment, restriction, maturity, responsibility to it that is supporting us as well. Like no longer playing around, getting back to basics. If it ain't broke, don't fix it vibes. On the 13th, the sun is going to conjoin Uranus, so same idea of what I just described. It's liberation, it's freedom, it's rebellion. And this does have themes of like overthrowing the government as much as it is like a political figure or a person in power or authority saying or doing something quite shocking or unusual. There can also be extreme weather when we have these aspects. Flukes of nature, tornadoes, earthquakes, things like that are typically pretty present with Uranus, definitely earthquakes. But in terms of like politics and collectively, because the sun rules things like government, authority, bosses, men, fathers, people in charge, ego battles. We know that we are witnessing a pretty popular one right now. That might be a day where things can tend to pop off. Other than that, in our personal lives, it's like you might be a little wild and like go to a different coffee shop than you typically do, or take a different route home from work, or just like take this unplanned, maybe risky yet exciting sort of decision that maybe you typically wouldn't approach something with on that day. Sorry for the noises of the chair I have to spin to stay awake. On the 15th, Mercury enters Taurus. So again, Mercury is speaking, talking, writing, ideas. It's very cerebral. It's very mentally stimulated. Having this go into Taurus brings our mind to a slower pace. It's like we're just thinking, again, this idea of like grazing in the grass. It's not so aggressive, it's not so direct and assertive, it's not so even very dreamy and like unrealistic and delusional. It's quite grounded, it's quite practical, it's quite realistic. This gives me sprinkle. It gives me hypergamy. It gives me asking for more. It gives me indulgence. It gives me celebration. Taurus works hard for what it gets, but it works hard and it plays harder. The reason it works hard is because it likes to feel secure and knowing, okay, I'm safe. But it also works hard in the sense of like, I know if I want really nice things in life, I have to get them myself. So it's really good with like resources. It's really good with working with what it's got, sort of. So to have Mercury enter Taurus, we might find ourselves feeling more selfish in a positive way, like in a healthy way. At the very worst, stubborn, argumentative because we're being stubborn, stuck in our ways, things like that. And there'll definitely be an emphasis on things like beauty, nature, environment, maybe conservation, sustainability, food quality, agriculture. I keep thinking of that bird flu. I'm like, oh, is that gonna be doubled down? Like, are we hearing a lot about it? Are we not hearing enough about it? I don't know, but that might bring attention to it. On the 17th, Mars is going to conjoin the North Node. This is like obsessive, supercharged, hyper focused energy to pursue something very powerfully and aggressively. It's like relentlessly pursuing something that you desire, that you want to fight for, that you're passionate in, that you're driven towards, that you crave. I would say at the very worst, this is like tripping over your own feet because you're rushing or pushing too hard. But I'm interested to see what goes on this day because we know Mars too is transformation, it's change, it's cutting things off, it's letting go. It makes me think of like cutting a cord, cutting a tie that you have to something. It's like cutting your dead ends. They don't serve a purpose anymore. They look ugly, they're weighing you down. And you cut the split ends and you have this like fresh, sort of like blunt, sharp, finished hairstyle. But if we think of that energetically, it's like we're cutting off the dead ends, we're trimming the fat, we're trimming the excess off in order to have like a clean and precise, strict, maybe new beginning or boundary with something. And Mars and the North Node are going to be in Aries, so we know Aries is ba ba ba. So there can still be on that day, because sometimes the nodes in general can be malefic by nature, meaning that sometimes they can be troublemaking and dangerous or fated in a way that maybe isn't so favorable. So there could even be like an uptick in violence or aggression, fighting, disagreements, accidents, things with fires, explosions, bombs, weapons of war, things like that. On the 18th, we're going to have Venus conjunct Uranus. So same idea as the 13th with the sun being conjunct Uranus. The sun, though, we talked about being ego, authority figures, bosses, government officials, the president, things like that. But on the 18th, Venus is again bringing our attention more to how on the 1st we had Venus square Pluto. Venus conjunct Uranus is again love, money, beauty, relationships, harmony, pleasure, indulgence, finances, banking, financial institutions, investments, women, mothers, femininity, sex. Having that in a conjunction to Uranus again is shock, unpredictability, things kind of coming out of left field, liberation, overthrowing something, authenticity, being the outcast, pushing against the grain, being non-conforming. Venus conjunct Uranus, though, that almost always is reflected in the stock market, in crypto, in banking, in anything financial. I hate to sound so like uneducated, but it might also have something to do, like maybe not with the dollar or currency itself, but rather like things with student loan forgiveness, because it has this liberation, this letting go feeling, but it also can be quite erratic and unexpected. So there might even be something that day where we're like, oh, I did not think the price of that was going to plummet or skyrocket. It can go either which way. Again, in our personal lives, though, Venus conjunct Uranus is typically sometimes being attracted to something we typically aren't, whether that's like the type of person we're attracted to, or suddenly being like, someone tells you like you look good in blue one day and you never buy blue, and you're like, maybe I should just start buying blue more. Maybe I should start wearing blue. It's like you're playing with a new, unusual but inspiring, stimulating sort of variable. It can be trying a new food. It could be going on a spontaneous date, things like that. You want to maybe be careful of being impulsive in a dangerous way, use your discernment, but also engage in the chaos. It's probably going to be a little bit fun. On the 22nd, the sun is going to trine Pluto. This is some beautiful support between, again, authority figures, ego, men, bosses, our creativity, our personalities, just standing true in our confidence and our identity, being heavily supported by Pluto. So this is a good day to initiate any profound change that you're a little scared to do, because you might have a little bit more bravery on this day. Pluto, again, being death and transformation, letting go, major endings. Having positive aspects to Pluto is saying that opportunity is there, or maybe even the need to do something, to end something is there, but you're having support from something else in the chart, which in this case, it's the sun in Taurus, which again is very grounded, very practical, very realistic, very, I would say collected is a good word to use. Actually, wait, am I talking about the 22nd, right? I want to make sure. No, you know what? It's Gemini season, baby. That's what I thought. I was like, that doesn't sound right. So actually, forgive me. It's not this grounded, practical, realistic, all of those Taurus themes. It's actually the fact that we are going to be heading into Gemini energy, and Gemini is literally in and of itself chaotic. Where is my notion? Where the hell did it just go? I'm sorry, guys. I know I should just edit this out. But I'm a Notion girly, and I just had all my notes on it. And I want to make sure I did not lose it. Because so yeah, it's actually Gemini season, because the reason the sun is trining Pluto is because it's going to be heading into Gemini, so it's naturally going to be in this very supportive aspect to Aquarius, because they're both air signs. So Gemini season is chatty, it's fun, it's cerebral, it's insane, it's unstable, it's chaotic, it's inspiring, it's stimulated, it's curious, it's fun-loving, it's witty, it's troublemaking. It's like, it makes me think of video games, it makes me think of like smack talking, it makes me think of banter, it's comedy, it's sarcasm. These are like mental plays on communication that can be quite lighthearted, but also troublemaking. So to have the sun moving into Gemini and then having that beautiful trine to Pluto on its way in is probably this, maybe again more unexpected profound change, due to the fact that we're moving more into air energy, which is far more flexible, and mutable energy is very willing to bend and contort and kind of be a chameleon rather than just staying in the same place and being very stubborn like Taurus is. So we might actually enter Gemini season with a bang of you closing out a cycle of something and deciding not to be so stubborn and clinging on to something. It's like you're finally ready to change and invite in a new video game character, a new plot, a new way that you're approaching your life. On the 23rd, the next day, it's a pretty active day. Venus is going to conjoin Jupiter. Absolutely beautiful. There's going to be a full moon in Sagittarius at 2 degrees. Absolutely beautiful. We're also going to be having Venus enter Gemini, and it's going to conjoin Jupiter on its way in, because Jupiter enters Gemini just 2 days later. So the 23rd to the 25th is quite insane in terms of how beneficial, beautiful, abundant, growth-oriented it is. Venus, again, is love, money, beauty, pleasure, relationships, finances, enjoyment, things that feel good. It's, again, also like women, celebration, like this feeling of like reward almost, and also, again, this idea of basking and indulgence. It can be quite superficial, actually. It can be quite frivolous pleasure, but that's what's good about it, is that it's not this like deep complex thing. It's like it just feels good. So when Venus has nice aspects in the sky, it's kind of saying it's easy breezy here. I always say it's like we're getting lubricant wherever Venus goes. It just makes it a smoother ride. And to have that conjunct Jupiter, which again, Jupiter is growth, abundance, expansion. Anything that Jupiter touches, we know it expands it. It pumps helium in it and makes it bigger. In some ways, can it conflate things or blow things out of proportion or be quite dramatic? Yes. In this case, it would more so be an issue of overindulgence. This is like getting carried away with gambling. This is like eating way too much of your favorite dessert because you're just like, you love it so much that you're not thinking about the consequences. It's definitely instant gratification. It's pressing your luck, but I would even recommend to press your luck. Like, this is a good day to buy a scratch off. Between that window, 23rd to 25th, really good day to just like play around with your luck a little bit because it could actually very likely work out. This full moon in Sagittarius on the 23rd is going to be the closing of a cycle to a new moon in Sagittarius that we had in the middle of December. I think it was December 12th of 2020. Oh my God, am I okay? 2023. So we're wrapping up that 6-month cycle. Does that mean that it has to be a bad ending? No, we're just coming full circle with the circumstances, tying up the loose ends of something that began back then. So in the same way that we have a new moon in Taurus today that I'm recording this and I'm like, oh, we're planting the seeds today. We'll see it in December of this year, or we'll see it on the second half of this year, 6 months later. The finish line of this full moon in Sagittarius is wrapping up something that started 6 months prior to now, which is again going to be middle of December. So think around the holidays. With Venus entering Gemini, again, our ideas and thoughts around pleasure, enjoyment, money, beauty, all of that jumps into Gemini, which is going to make us a little bit more jumpy and curious and stimulated when it comes to trying new things. This focuses more on this idea of juggling or options or variance. Venus in Taurus likes what it likes and it sticks to it. Again, it has this idea of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's like having your favorite brand of a certain food and never venturing outward. You're like, it needs to be this one. I don't even want to try another one. Whereas Venus in Gemini is like, I'm going to buy all 5 brands. I'm going to taste all of them and I'm just going to enjoy the whole experimentation process. It likes to experiment. It's very curious. It likes to ask questions. If you're single, this is a good time for dating. It's a good time for especially like dating online or dating mutual friends, things like that. Meeting people spontaneously or that have the same hobbies as you. Really good time for hobbies in general, point blank period. Really great for speaking, talking, writing, podcasting, self-expression, blogging, journalism, public speaking, like anything that uses self-expression, communication, connecting the dots, etc. It's very social. Again, conjunction to Jupiter makes it very lucky, very beneficial, very abundant. With the sextile to Neptune on the 24th, great day to launch something that you want to go far and wide. So if you wanted something to like go viral, this is a good day to do it. Neptune is quite dreamy and spiritual, but it also expands in the same way that Jupiter does. They have a similar sort of effect in that way. Really good to this 23rd to the 25th, times for like meditation, spiritual practices, anything where you want to be more esoteric or get more in touch in that way. Great for that. On the 25th, again, we have Venus trine Pluto. So in the same way that we had Venus square Pluto on the 1st, by the 25th, the first we have that discomfort. We have this edge. We have this like, this is a little bit uncomfortable or frustrating or coming to a halt or needs to be confronted or I'm trying to avoid this or this is just yucky. Whereas on the 25th, Venus trine Pluto is saying whatever was complicated then is a lot smoother now and is a lot easier now. There could be a solution. There could be an easy way out. There could be I guess the word solution that was maybe not available initially at the beginning of the month, now really making it easy for you to segue out at the end of the month. And again, profound change and transformation with money, beauty, romance, pleasure, things that feel good. This again, we can see some major changes with finances, the stock market, crypto, etc. On the 29th, Mars is going to conjoin Chiron. 2 different ways that this can manifest. Some people might find that their wounds are triggered and it's frustrating and it's like we're reopening a scab that we thought healed and we're pouring salt in the wound and it stings and we're reminded of how much it stings and we're like, this is so frustrating. I just want to be over this. Other people might have this very out of nowhere momentum and strength and potential to again really relentlessly pursue healing, like almost where they run head first into being triggered because they're like, I want to face it head on. I want to get the venom out. So I would say for some people, they're going to feel those wounds and those triggers and want to just soothe it and baby it and put a Band-Aid on it and like really you know, like if you were to injure your leg and it's like you start limping on it and you elevate it, you rest it, you don't put any pressure on it at all. Other people are going to have this idea of, okay, I hurt my leg, I'm going to work through it. I'm going to actually put it through more stress to try and, you know, allow it to adapt through the pain. Even though this hurts, I'm still going to push through it, sort of vibe. It can manifest differently for everybody. Again, this is going to be wherever Aries is in your chart. And then Mercury conjunct Uranus, we're ending the month on a bang note, because Mercury, again, is speaking, talking, writing, using your voice, communication, attention to detail. It's transportation as well, like driving, cars, travel, planes. Also, I see this with weather, and Mercury conjunct Uranus can very likely be an earthquake, can be transportation accidents, can be anything that really throws a wrench in the mix of smoothly and cohesively getting from point A to point B. So something that's typically easy or like almost involuntary, something we're just so used to being familiar, becomes like sporadic, or there's a shock, or there's an interruption, a disruption, that it is no longer normal. There's not the natural, what's the word? I'm thinking of like how people say we're resuming to, like, returning to regularly scheduled programming. Think of like that with like the way that TV used to be. It's like if there was an interruption or something, a fluke, especially with technology, social media, the internet as well, an app could very likely go down on this day, or changes with the internet, things like that. That fluke is Mercury conjunct Uranus. It's like, okay, shaking the table, unpredictability, unusual circumstances, changes. There could be some shocking news that day. There could be some, and I know that that's such a vague statement, but there could be something with like traveling that gets like cut off, or maybe like might have something to do with the border. Actually, I didn't think about that. It might have something to do with the borders. I'm trying to think if I can think of anything else. Statements, crazy statements can come out with this. But that is our month, guys. It's an incredible month, literally the best month of the year. Like, I have been so excited for it, and I can't even believe like a weekend. I'm having a really good month. It's definitely overwhelming, but I think it's really abundant with all this Taurus energy, helping us really plant the seeds for something, having fertile soil to grow something on, an idea, manifestation, a goal, healing, whatever it may be for everybody. But I really want to apologize for my condition right now. Like, I know that I look strung out, and it's because I am, but I wanted to get this out because it's already a week late. So I'm going to try to be more present on here this month as I'm catching up with all these readings. And if you did get a reading and you're waiting, please be easy on me, be patient. I promise I'm not forgetting your order or anything like that. This has happened to me before, again, to be clear, and I'm endlessly grateful. I cannot express my gratitude enough. I cried about it more than once. But all I ask is just to remember that I'm one person, and I have hundreds of orders that will naturally take hundreds of hours in order to complete. So I'm trying to just balance everything, because this was very unexpected, both with Patreon, with readings, with like trying to just still be active on social media. I'm probably not going to be able to do the collective readings this month. But you know what I'll do for you guys? I'm going to give you guys the moon vault for free, the one that I did for the Taurus new moon today. And then maybe for the full moon in Sag, I'll do a little excerpt on here on how it's going to affect each of the rising signs. That way you guys have something to work with, how it's going to affect you personally. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Again, hello to the newcomers. I'm so grateful to have you here. I promise I'm not always this out of it during my posts. Also, just for the people that don't know, you do get a personal discount code that you can use while you're a Patreon member, and it's $fam at checkout at kmoney.biz on my website. You will automatically get 10% off using that code. So if you want to book a reading, you can use that to your advantage. But I love you guys. Thank you for being so patient. Thank you for forgiving me for being a week late. And I hope you guys have an amazing month. I'd love to hear what you're going through, how the new moon is treating you. And if May is as exciting and unexpected as it has been for me, as it is for you. Okay, I will talk to you guys soon. Love you. Bye.